Best day for Tesla stock in over 6 years, obviously on the heels of the earnings report, which was mind-blowing and shocking and unbelievable. And I think everybody is excited. This guy is definitely very excited about it, and he doesn't even own a single share of Tesla stock, but not everybody is. There are a few people, and a lot of them just happen to be Wall Street analysts that are a little bit cautious. And I've been reading some of their notes in the last 24 hours since the report came out, and some of it is just flat out dumb if you ask me, but some are actually quite reasonable, and that's the stuff that I kind of wanted to share with you guys in case if you're thinking about buying or selling the stock, or just even if you just don't want to be disappointed in the next few months if you're a huge Tesla fan. And if anything that I've learned from dating here in Sacramento, that is, the disappointment is almost always the result of high expectations. And this is, by the way, a very true depiction of my love life right there. If you were shorting, you're probably a very rich man or a woman right now. So, but let's take a look. This is the last 6 months of the stock, as you can see. By the way, almost at 300. By the time you're watching this video, it probably moved up and down, but $45 gain. This is just absolutely amazing. Obviously, crossing 300 once again would be a big deal. It never crossed 400, so having a 3 in front of it is kind of like, oh, good old days, right? So, and let's go over some numbers really quick. Obviously, the biggest news, the biggest shock was the fact that Tesla actually made some profits. $143 million sounds a lot for you and me, but it's actually not that much for a multi-million-dollar company. Obviously, the expectation was the result, that they're gonna lose, and especially per share. This is where the expectations of 15-cent loss was completely destroyed by the almost $2 gain. And the reason a lot of us thought about it, including myself, they've delivered 97 cars, which was a record, but it wasn't that much more than they delivered in the previous quarter, where they did lose money, and therefore, nobody really expected it. Obviously, the reason for that, they cut down on a lot of expenses, but we're going to talk about that because that seems to be a problem and a blessing in disguise at the same time. They had a record cash on hand. No, though there is something to know. Don't forget, they did raise $2.7 billion just in May, even though Elon said that they wouldn't have to. And also, they save a little bit of money by not building as many superchargers and service centers and shops as they kind of promised. So that's where, a lot of money was saved. But don't forget that $2.7 billion that they raised is half of what they have in cash now. But hey, listen, bottom line is they have a lot of money in the bank, and a lot of people complain. The same analysts complaining about it for a while. Now they're complaining that, oh, well, they have the money. That's very, very good for the company of the size. Now, let's talk about something that I've heard that's pretty dumb. Before that, of course, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by Byton. Check out their all-electric SUV called M-Byte, coming to the US, coming to Europe at $45,000 starting price. Don't forget to reserve one. The price for that is $0, €0, $0, 0 rubles, whatever your currency is. So join myself and over 50,000 people who spend a minute of their time and put themselves on the reservation list for free. Check it out. The link is in the description of this video. All right. Now, here's something dumb that I've heard from a different analyst. And again, I'm not a stock guy, but I'm also not an idiot. So that's why I can kind of say that this is a little dumb. Now, here's what they're concerned about. They're saying, okay, so Tesla brought in $6.3 billion in this quarter, but last year they brought in $500 million more. So therefore, look, there's no growth. This is the first time in many years Tesla failed to show growth, and so we don't know what's going to happen. It doesn't seem like it's growing anymore. Well, first of all, two things. One is, one of the reasons they became profitable, and you guys are like profits, right, is because they cut down on a lot of spending. Now, when you cut down on spending, the growth slows down, and even I know that. So you can't have it both ways. Obviously, the goal is profit, right? For any business, for this YouTube channel. That's why I just petted Byton advertisement, right? That's how we eat. So let's concentrate on the profit part. How they achieved it, that's fine. But speaking about growth, were you not paying attention to like everything else? because they said that they are building the factory and that's pretty much done, right? The factory is done. Guess what? That's growth. Yes, they haven't made a car there yet, but they're ahead of schedule. They're going to. Model Y, ahead of schedule. They built in an extra line. We already redid the line for Model 3 S and X. Everything was shuffled around. That's going to be ready to go in less than a year, right? They also said they're going in production with a semi, which is another thing. Yes, it's limited, but it is production. It is going to be profits. So, and of course, they announced that they're going to announce that by the end of the year, where the new Gigafactory in Europe is going to be. And on top of that, don't forget, they also said that Tesla Energy is finally going to grow. The solar roof V3 is being announced today, pretty much. And it's ready for the big time. They're going to ramp up things on another Gigafactory that's kind of been laying around there, collecting dust most of the time in Buffalo. So if you want to talk about growth, how does this not count? So this is why I think it's kind of dumb. And by the way, we all knew that there were only so many cars that they could make in that Fremont factory, right? I mean, it's just been amazing how much they got out of it. Now, I know Elon probably shouldn't have told everybody that they're going to make 500,000 of cars there, because I think they're going to end up with about 360,000 now that they're saying. But I just don't understand how anybody with financial education and experience can argue that. Now, one thing they did, I will give them one thing, is that Q3 of last year was also a very good quarter for Tesla. They've ramped up, they were profitable. They've ramped up Model 3 production, and then all of a sudden, boom, Q1 was a disaster. So they're saying, well, we've seen this before. Well, no, we haven't seen this before. Tesla's in a completely different place now. Q1 was a disaster because obviously they had a bunch of issues with expanding to Europe with Model 3, expanding to China. No, this wasn't an excuse, by the way. I'm not buying any of that. They should have known how to do that because they've already been doing it with Model S and Model X for years. But nevertheless, that's something that's not going to happen this year because they're not expanding with anything. If anything, they're building the cars in China now. That problem is getting better, not worse. So Tesla is not in the same position whatsoever going in Q1. Now, historically, yes, you sell less electric cars in January and February. That's just how it is. Same thing with solar, any type of green products. Yeah, but build that into your expectations. I know Q1 was a disaster of this year, but it's not going to be a disaster this year. At least I don't see why would anybody assume that. Now, one of the analysts were saying how, the whole thing that Tesla is no longer late, they're actually early with a lot of their plans, kind of tells them that, and I quote here, that it's a dramatic change in the running of the business. And I kind of agree. I've been saying this almost every time, Elon is different Elon when it comes to these earning calls. He's not this crazy guy. He gives a lot of good news. He doesn't project as much and hype stuff up as much as he used to. He still interrupts the other execs, so that's probably going to happen forever. But overall, he is a very, very different guy. And by the way, another thing, and I just can't mention enough, because Elon did say that, hey, well, I believe that now that the Tesla Energy is going to be growing, I believe it can outgrow the car part of the business, and I believe him. So, going back to growth, I think if anybody who believes this company is not going to grow drastically next year and the year after that is just not listening, I think, or watching. So one more thing I wanted to mention is that there is something to be said about the history and about, I know how much Elon hates the people who are shorting Tesla stock. It's the most shorted stock out there, and he was kind of complaining it. I personally think that it should be illegal. I don't understand how our U.S. market, it allows for people to bet against the very concept of growing the market, right? I think that would be legal, but it is legal. And Tesla by far is the most profitable short trade of this year going into the earnings call, and it still is. And I believe it's by triple of the second most profitable. So it's kind of, you kind of have to say like, listen, it's kind of our own fault and we can get out of it, and we're going to continue growing and growing and growing, then we will get out of that situation as well. You know, I'm so glad that Elon just stopped paying attention to all this nonsense about shorting and then stock just in general. I think they're just continually digging in, doing better every quarter, cutting down expenses, which is huge, and finally growing and producing. I'm looking forward to the semi truck unveiling next month. Let's see if I'm gonna get press passes. I've yet to get press passes from Tesla once. I think the only other company that denied me press passes was Porsche, but Tesla denied it regularly and consistently. The only way I usually make it there, because I refer so many Teslas when I was the owner. Not sure if it's going to happen this year. So if I'm there, obviously I'll bring that to you, and most likely in some cases live. And by the way, if you guys want to follow me wherever it is that I go, don't forget to follow me on Instagram under E4Electric. That's where I post a lot of behind the scenes footage. So don't forget to enjoy that. And of course, don't forget to sign up for our VIP list, where you get a bonus story every Saturday, something that we just don't have time to cover on this channel or on the website. All right, looking forward to all of your comments. Let me know if you own a stock, if you sold the stock, what your position on this is. Looking forward to all of that. Other than that, see you next time, and remember to stay charged.